Good evening, Derek. Oh my goodness, Doreen and uh, Adam. Sorry about that. I forgot which presentation I'm responding to. I'm doing two tonight. Uh, I'm responding to your presentation as a whole. Started watching Adam's portion, and he had mentioned something that I hadn't considered, that the UN or the U.S. policy in the region is sort of affected by its perceptions of Iran, and the Iranian Shia majority and the Saudi Arabian Sunni majority are two things that I hadn't really considered. I mean, obviously, I know that, Sunni majority in Saudi Arabia, Shia majority in Iran, but I hadn't considered that sort of makes those countries enemies and increases the amount of hostility between between Iran and the U.S. Um, because the U.S. obviously supports Saudi Arabia economically, and then sanctions Iran, economically. So in the perception of at least some, I feel like maybe Shias feel like the U.S. supports Sunni Islam. Of course, that's not our policy at all. But from those who, I mean, they have people in that country that don't study too, so don't pay attention to things, don't read into things, just buy whatever the media or whatever the government tells them. So if their government tells them, well, hey, the U.S. doesn't like us because we're Shia Muslims, which is the only true form of Islam, and they support those heretics, those apostates over there in Saudi Arabia. Uh, so that's kind of the joint response to Adams and Derek's video. Derek, my comment I have to make on yours, and I know it's not your fault, but I mean, really? I had to watch an ad beforehand? I know it's not your fault. It's just where you posted the video. I was just like, when an ad came up, I was like, what the heck am I doing? Normally I click on these things, they pop right up. Thought I was in the wrong place. But, but anyway, yeah, so Derek was really focused on that issue, this Shia Sunni divide, the Iranian Saudi divide, and I like how Derek called the uh, the response to what was I going to say? The response to the Iranian problem from the U.S. as, or no, the policy towards Saudi Arabia is he called them status quo powers. That's what it was. The status quo powers. I like that term. I mean, you're right. The U.S. and Saudi Arabia are always trying to sort of keep the region just like it is. We don't want any change. We don't like this Arab Spring thing, which is what Adam was touching on, was the effect on the Arab Spring, and how Saudi Arabia really repressed it, and it was really ended up being kind of immune from it. So that's an interesting dynamic that you two mentioned. As far as Doreen's portion on the military policy, uh, Saudi Arabia's military strategies and partnerships, that's interesting. It's something I hadn't considered. I mean, I know we sell a lot of arms to to Saudi Arabia, and they sort of function military from us. They benefit from military training. We put military infrastructure, military bases in and around there. But then again, that's really the cause of the issue. I mean, what is Al Qaeda's big deal all the time? All Bin Laden's videos were, we want the U.S. away from the Holy Land. I mean, that's Mecca is obviously there, and having U.S. military bases close to that is ridiculous in their eyes. Obviously, as Adam and Derek touched on, I mean, they're trying to maintain the status quo. They've built up this partnership over time. And even though all those policies come from way back in the 50s and 60s, or before that, in the 20s, even on back, all our policies in the region dealing with oil and things, it's interesting to see how even in 2013, when all that kind of Orientalism is kind of passed, and we're still over there. We're still, I mean, which shows that the significance of oil in the region, because we want to maintain status quo, obviously, to keep that flow of oil. Because the flow of oil stops, and then our economy hurts. We're sanctioning ourselves in essence. So that's my response to all three of your videos, your presentation as a whole, like the PowerPoint. I like the way you guys, it looks like you guys put a lot more work in it than I did, which I guess makes me look bad. Don't judge me now, Dr. Meredith. Judge me just based on what you watched. But I enjoyed the video. I enjoyed the presentation. Thanks very much, and talk to you in future weeks.